Okay, I don't expect to talk about this one very long. I just want to cover this really quick for fun. So Kaylee has been researching bats lately, and so I threw on a bat movie. We were going to have a batathon. We did kind of with Batman Begins.
Yeah, we watched all
the
the
Dark Knight
Batman, we
trilogies.
watched the Nolan Batman movies.
Yeah, so
those don't count.
Those don't count.
No.
But we watched a film from I think it's like 1974.
Yeah.
Called Chosen Survivors, and it kind of has the beginning reminds me of the video game series Fallout. They take a bunch of randomly selected people, put them into a doomsday bunker that they have created to keep the human race alive. We are going to talk about spoilers. It's a movie that's 50 years old, literally, this year, 50th anniversary. And that's why we're doing it. No. Got to do the 50th anniversary of this classic that no one's ever heard of, and 3 people are going to watch this. But yeah, so they take these like 10 or 12 people, I think it's 12 people down into this bunker, unbeknownst to them. They didn't sign up for it. They don't know anything about it. And they get down there. They're told they're going to have to live down there for like 5 years. That's as long as the thing can hold out. The elevator will come down when it's safe to go back outside. And then like a couple minutes after they go down there, it's shown on the screen that the world has ended and that it's like 200 and something degrees outside and unlivable, and they're all freaking out. It ends up all being a lie.
Yeah.
But the unexpected element is that they just so happen to be sharing this bunker with a cave system. And that cave system has, you guessed it, killer bats.
Yep.
They're just regular old like vampire bats, but for some reason in this they're just like deadly.
I don't know that, like, I know that there are bats that will like feed on human blood.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they ever like intentionally go for humans.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, I wouldn't expect this to be like a realistic depiction of bats.
It would have made more sense to me if the world had ended, which wouldn't have made any sense for how their cave system survived the temperatures outside and everything, and the you know, whatever the hell's in the air. But putting all of that aside, it doesn't matter. The only thing that would have been cool is if like they started to get so hungry, because obviously the outside world is dead to them, that they like had no other choice and just started attacking the humans. But obviously that's not the case, because it's not even real, and they just decide to kill humans for
just
whatever
evil
reason.
Bats. This is bat slander, or what's the word? Bat defamation, or whatever.
Yeah,
they're smearing the good name of bats. I do wonder, like, what the how much people knew about bats in the 70s. Because bats are definitely one of those animals that have a stigma around them.
Yeah.
Just like black cats and spiders and stuff. Like, people are afraid of them, snakes, you know. And they misunderstand them and, like, you know, hurt them as a result. Or, you know, they're just freaked out by them. So this movie, like, screams that to me. Like, just like, oh, what's been that, like, a lot of people are afraid of? Bats. Like, perfect. Let's put it to bats and nuclear holocaust. Like, let's combine them. I hated this movie. I was so, like, it was entertaining to watch with you because we were, like, commenting on things that were happening and, like, laughing and stuff. But, like, I genuinely think it's a really horrible film. I feel like I hate the set. That's, like, one of the first things that happens that made me really dislike the film.
You don't want to live in a stainless steel paradise?
It's like, as you said, it's a refrigerator. It literally, it's like the worst bunker design I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That you would possibly want to put people in. I hated all of the characters. I feel like they were all lame.
Yeah.
And there's one character in particular, like, okay, because, like, the whole thing is that they're like, we're going to bring down, like, a writer and a politician and like a psychologist and like all these like repopulate the planet, like we need the brightest of the bright, and then they bring down a dude that's just like a corporation specialist, and I was just like,
you mean the rapist?
Yeah, and then he turns out to be the rapist, and literally, he's
got to repopulate the earth.
First one, we see them in the elevator in the beginning, and I was like, that guy's an asshole. Like he's the one that's gonna be bad, and I was right. So he just had that look to him, but
for a film from 1974, if that's accurate, they made the black guy the hero.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You don't usually see that from movies 50 years ago. It's always like the white savior complex.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, no, it's the black guy. It's kind of a little stereotypical with that, though, because he's like the athlete.
Yeah.
Right?
And they like...
Which is, is what it is on that. But yeah, he goes up, he climbs the elevator shaft, and right as he's about to fall, he opens up the door, which then alerts them to come and save everybody. And his death is what saves them in the end. But that was a bummer, man, because he's definitely one of the only good people down there, and he really was a hero, and he's pretty badass for climbing up that elevator shaft that's like 1,700 feet straight down, and he's like rappelling up it with some hook and rope kind of thing. So that was cool, but this movie is super lame. It has what's funny is that watching the Good Bad Flicks breakdown of this, which I had already watched and completely forgot about, but I rewatched it after we watched this was originally just supposed to be a disaster movie to compete with things like Earthquake and Towering Inferno and whatever. And which I think those came out in 76, so maybe this came out around that. I don't know, whatever year it is. Doesn't matter. It's the mid-70s somewhere. Anyway, the people who signed on to this, they signed on to it when the script was just that it was like a doomsday bunker and that they were put down there, right? And this and that.
Yeah.
And then after they'd all signed on, they had this idea of like, well, why don't we add an element of horror to it as well? And we're going to put vampire bats down there. And, the main actors were like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Like, why are you adding this? And they wanted out of the film because they're like, this makes it like a B monster movie, and that is not what this movie was supposed to be. And I guess they just hated the whole process. The main actors refused to get rabies shots. One of the actors that did get rabies shots, she ended up having a horrendous allergic reaction to it, and her character had to be rewritten to be like seen in bed for the rest of the movie because she was so fucked up from it.
Yeah.
And she had to only be filmed from one side because her arms swelled up so big.
Oh my god.
So she's that one that's like having sex with that guy.
She's like the politician, I think.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
But she's the one that had the horrendous,
or the congresswoman or something.
Reaction. But it's like, imagine, I always watch these like shitty films like Weekend at Bernie's 2 and then find out that like a stuntman died on set, and it's like, man, imagine dying for a movie like Weekend at Bernie's 2.
Well, we've talked about like no actor, nobody in any job really. I mean, you want all jobs to be safe, but like you're, especially like when you're an actor.
Yeah.
But this is why we have like, like, not they haven't been treated fairly or well for like all of cinema history, right? Like there's plenty of instances where directors and people are putting actors into really dangerous positions.
You will find this piece of information very good and bad at the same time. So they actually gathered up as many bats as they could for the film, ended up killing a bunch of them on set. And this prompted some of the actors on the film to go to like Hollywood and whatever the fuck, and tell them, because a lot of people were there were laws in place for animal cruelty in America. But a lot of companies were going outside of America.
Yeah.
And so this was the movie where they changed the rules to that if you're an American production, no matter what country you're in, you have to adhere to the safety guidelines for animals no matter where you're filming.
Ugh, it makes me so upset because, like, that's exactly, like, what I was meaning. Like, people view bats as, like vermin or pests or something.
Yeah.
And they're not that at all.
Yeah.
And, the rabies shot, like, obviously it's always good when if you're going to be around, like, wild animals that could have rabies, like, it's better to have it, I'm sure. But bats aren't even, like, the main carrier of rabies. Like, I found out that, like, less than 1% of the bat population even has rabies.
Sure, but they're just putting nets over caves at night and just catching it and as many as they can. So one of them absolutely could have rabies.
Could, but I'm just saying, like, that's, like, something that people always think of. And, like, I even thought that. I was always like, oh my god, like, bats have rabies. And I don't know why it was, like, bats specifically.
Yeah.
But it's, like, it's really messed up because they're so important for the ecosystem. Like, they're, as I told you, like, they're pollinators.
Yeah.
Just like bees. So they're, like, so important for crops. And obviously they help take care of a lot of, like, insects. Like, they, decrease insects and everything.
Yeah.
So it's like you want them around.
Yeah.
And I hate watching old movies like this where there are animals because especially ones that are being villainized in some way, because I am always like, there's probably animals getting hurt. Like, and I just think that that's atrocious, and I never want to see that. I think it's, like, totally disgusting.
Yeah.
So that was also a big reason. Like,
that adds to it.
Like, yeah, like, not only is it just, like, an awful film, like, technically, but it's also just got, like, a horrible, stain because of the animal cruelty.
It's a weird amalgamation of a film where it tries to be too many things and fails at all of them.
Yeah.
So, what a weird, dumbass movie. I looked up a list of, like, all the best bat movies there were to show Kaylee. And this was number 1.
That's so crazy to me.
And I'm like, that's 100% not true, because I've
like...
seen other Bat movies, and they're better than this. Like, Bats with Lou Diamond Phillips and stuff. It's stupid, but it's better than this shit.
But this does, because this one doesn't even have the, like, the beam, like, you can tell, like, maybe this is part of why, like, you can tell that the actors, like, don't want to be there or something, it doesn't have any of, like, a B-movie charm or anything, and not that
it also looks made for television,
it does.
Even though it had a big budget.
Also, none of this would matter, like, I would still hate the film, like, even if it had that and, like, was charming, but they were hurting bats, like, I would still, like, hate it. But it's just like, that's shocking that would be, like, number 1 on that list.
There's definitely movies you love where animals were killed on set. That just...
I hate it. Yeah. I mean, when I find out that that's, like, this is why with...
Friday the 13th.
Friday. Yeah.
I was going to say, the shirt you're wearing.
The shirt that I'm literally wearing. Like, I love Friday the 13th as a franchise, but that's... I wouldn't say that the first one is my favorite. And part of it is because of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't think you should sacrifice animals for art.
No.
I don't think anything should be, like, any life should be sacrificed for art, and... Yeah. So.
Yeah, they cut a snake in half, for those of you who are confused. And that's real. So, yeah, stupid-ass movie. It's only available on YouTube. We don't recommend it.
Don't
obviously.
watch it. It's not good. It's
not
even funny.
If you have seen it, you guys will be able to share in our unenthusiastic response here. But what a stupid ass film, for sure. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
You think the B movie stands for bat?
The B movie?
Yeah, like.
No, it's about bees, which I've never seen.
No, it's a bee monster movie, and the B stands for bat.
Yeah.
Dead bats.
No.
All right, bye.
Bye.